Good evening. Woo! I can see you all the way back there. Can you see me? Yes. Woohoo! Welcome. I am so happy to see this crowd here. This is the beginning of the next 2 hours and 15 years. We are here to get some shit done, as I've heard a former U.S. ambassador say, and this is such an important night for us all to be together. Such historic action took place this weekend when 193 countries agreed together that they have a development, prosperity, sustainable growth framework and agenda for the next 15 years. And they said they need help, and we're here to help. I know everyone who's in the room is here because you share that vision, you want to be part of it, and you know that we're not going to get there with the old ways of doing things by just waiting for governments to pass on aid. We need everybody involved and everybody at the table. So that's what led to this idea to celebrate the end of the Sustainable Development Goals Summit with both a celebration and a recommitment to move forward and get some work done. So I want to first thank my co-hosts. I'm Kathy Calvin from the UN Foundation. Also the UN, sorry, I'm actually pretty tired tonight. The UN Non-Governmental Liaison Service and Project Everyone, who made it their mission to tell everyone about these goals. And we've got some government partners who've come together to celebrate this with us and to commit to also finding innovative solutions as we work forward. The United States, Brazil, Kenya, Estonia, and Chile. And many other governments who are supporting the work that we're doing here. The United Arab Emirates, Israel, Fiji, Liechtenstein, Somalia, Singapore, Vietnam, and Japan. Pretty diverse. And I want to give a special thank you to the White House Office of Science and Technology for having the vision that this was the right way to end the summit and the right way to start the next 15 years. Then let me finally give one more thank you, and that is to the partners who made tonight possible: the Caterpillar Foundation, Dell, Guggenheim, BNY Mellon, MasterCard, Intel, and Rockwood Asset Management. So here we are. It's a historic weekend. And what are we going to do? Well, Ted Turner would say, stop doing the dumb things and start doing the smart things. And he would also challenge us, as he does every day, everyone can make a difference, and anyone can make a difference, and everyone can. And that's really why we're all here. We all have something to bring to the table, and you're going to hear about some pretty special ones tonight. It was amazing when we thought about asking around to see, are there some innovations out there already? And I think you're going to hear in a few minutes, not only are there, but there's some amazing ones that will make a difference in the way we move forward into the next few years. What usually people say at this point is, okay, now we've got the goals, now for the hard work. Come on. This is going to be the fun part. This is the exciting part. This is the amazing part. We've got work to do, but we know it's going to be a lot of amazing stuff that's going to happen. So I want to say we wouldn't have gotten here without an old friend of mine who I've known from way, way, way back. She was a trailblazer even when she was tinkering in her dad's shop. She is now the U.S. government's Chief Technology Officer. Megan Smith is a revolutionary. I'm not really sure if they knew what they were getting in for at the U.S. government when they brought her in from Google, but you will find out tonight as she leads us through a really exciting discussion of the many opportunities we have ahead and some of the most exciting innovations that came forward when we set out a call to join us. Thank you very much for being with us, and over to Megan Smith.
Thank you, Kathy. The UN Foundation has been incredible in helping us put this together, as have the UN Non-Government Liaison Service and the Project Everyone folks, so thank you. It's awesome to see you, and it was so incredible earlier today when we got to meet the innovators. I don't know if everybody's aware how we got to today, but the idea we had was, how about on the very first day, as we ratify the goals, and we have our global goals, which I love as a techie, I love having goals, that we start solving them right away in the evening, and that's what we're going to do with all of you. So the beginning of the program, we're going to hear from 14 innovators. These are women and men who have come from 6 continents, One of them just arrived about 2 hours ago from Nigeria. People who have amazing ideas. The world I come from a more digital world, and I've come into government, and what we wanted to do was bring how we work to all of you and begin to collaborate in that way. We have this extraordinary thing of the internet that now connects us, and really the internet is not a thing, it's just us connected in cyberspace. We posted the UN team posted a link, a call in August, and said, we're going to ratify the goals. We want to do this summit. Who has ideas? And through the science technology partners, Brazil and Estonia, Chile, and Kenya, and also lots of fellow programs like Ashoka and Skoll and the innovators, TED, Inc. from India. The word got out to the techies and the innovators and lots of other friends. And we had over 800 proposals that came through in a live doc that's on the web, if you want to see it. And they came from 90 countries. Astonishing. And a wonderful group volunteered to look through the proposals. And I want to thank the selection committee. So some of them are in the room. A few of them, please raise your hand if you're in. Yeah, there. Thank you, guys. Awesome. So these folks volunteered to go through that content, and it really blew everyone away. So the 14 people here are but a sampling of the amazing things that we found. And you're gonna enjoy hearing from them. What we're gonna do is almost like that TED style. So 3 minutes from each of them, really fast up. We wanted them to tell you their passion, what they're working on. All of them relate to the different 17 goals. Some of their solutions touch on many of them. The other reason that we wanted to do this is because really, sometimes when we're working at a governmental level, things become very abstract. They become about technology as it, the thing, the solution. It's sort of dehuman. But we all know that there's nothing in the world that's ever been invented without the person who invented it, and the team that did that, or the person or the team who scaled it, or the collaborative group that came together and all the cross-functionality to make it run at scale. And so we really wanted to celebrate people today. And so that's what this is really about, is the innovators of our planet. And I'm really thankful to the selection committee to paying deep attention to making sure that there were people who represent really humanity. So people from all different backgrounds and age groups and men and women and really the diversity of our planet. Because really talent is everywhere. I was lucky to work very closely with Malala Yousafzai. And so, you know, of course, she made her famous speech here. And for me, my hope on the education goal is not only do we reach her goal of one child, one teacher, one book, one pen, as they're enjoying programming and discovering and making and design and art and history and all the brilliance of our planet as they work together with us as our youth collaborators to solve the summits, solve our global goals, which I think we can do. All right, so without further ado, the next person up, my co-MC, Ambassador Kamau, is here. And I just want you to meet him. We have 2 stages. I'm going to be over here, and he and Punita here, both of you come over here, are going to be on the other side. We're going to get him to say just a couple quick words to launch us, and then we'll get the innovators up here. And innovators, you guys, some of you are in back. So the ones who are on this stage, come on up. The ones who are on that stage, go over on that side. Ambassador. Come on.
Thank you. Thanks, Megan. Wow. This is really weird. It's not what we do normally here at the United Nations. We don't deal with solutions. No, I didn't say that. I take it back. It's really amazing that within weeks of having done the Sustainable Development Goals, within hours of having had them adopted by the heads of state, we're already in solutions mode. I mean, nothing works like this out here. This is an amazing speed. I am out of breath. I came up the steps and I was like, what? We're dealing with implementation already? Anyway, let me say what I need to say. We worked on the sustainable goals with some people who are in this room. Elizabeth, Tony, I see so many faces. I don't want to begin mentioning them. And it was an incredible struggle, an amazing struggle. And we never ever thought this moment would arrive. So it's just fantastic to be here. But there is one thing that we have to deal with, which is how we get everybody together because even though the goals are great, we still don't have the full solution matrix in place. This is about the solution matrix. It's about how we put together the governments, the civil society, the private sector, and the individuals to make it work. It's about the connectors. It's about the solvers. It's about the solutions. That's what we're looking for today. And I am very excited to be a part of this. I don't think I have anything more to say except let's get on with it, because clearly we only have 15 years.
Well, I think we should try for 5 or 10. I think we can go fast. And so we're going to bring Agnes, come on over here. So I sometimes think that instead of government being parental, we should be a platform on which our solution makers stand. And so we will move out of the way.
Okay.
And this is Agnes Nikiria, yeah?
Yes, Nakiria.
Who is has an incredible legal background. And so many people in Uganda, where she's from, do not have any representation, maybe more than 90% of the prisoners. And so she's going to tell us what she has done, which is just astonishing. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello and good evening, everyone. Today, I'm here on behalf of the African Prisons Project to share a vision of prisons as places of positive transformation and prisoners and prison staff as change agents in their communities and nations. Like most prison services around the world, prisons in Africa face great challenges. In Uganda, where I come from, 45,000 men and women are held in overcrowded prisons built to house just 16,000. This is partly because most people are unable to afford the services of a lawyer. Over a half are merely awaiting trial. Can I just get someone to help me with? I know I was born in the technology era, but this sometimes bullies me a lot. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, in Uganda today, over 45,000 men and women are held in prisons built to accommodate just 16,000. Most people are unable to afford the services of a lawyer. Today, I'm here to share with you how our solution, with its proven record of success, can serve as a model for the world to transform its prisons into incubators of true, positive, and lasting reform. For example, Susan is one of our students supported by the African Prisons Project to study law. She was the lead petitioner in a 2009 landmark case that led to the abolition of the mandatory death penalty in Uganda. She has become a leader of reform and rehabilitation in her prisons. Her fellow inmates rely on her for legal guidance and support, and she aspires to promote the rights of women upon her release. Otim is a prison officer trained by the African Prisons Project as a prison human rights advocate, providing basic legal advice and support and liaising on behalf of our inmates who are unable to afford the services of a lawyer. With their support, 1,300 inmates have been released who had been awaiting trial for a very long period of time. Moses is an ex-inmate and a recent graduate of law. He is serving as a member of the unit disciplinary court in the army. Our students have made significant impact. They have supported and provided legal counsel to 638 people. With the support of the University of London, law firms, and the judiciary, we are making significant widespread impact. Today, we ask you for 3 things. First, we ask that you invite us to your countries to train and equip change makers and future leaders in your prisons. We ask you to fund us to support the training of more prisoners and prison staff to ensure that they address the legal, health, and access to justice needs and education needs in their communities. we ask you to speak to policymakers in your countries to convince them to invest more into education and leadership programs in prisons. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to collaborate, and I look forward to speaking with you and sharing with you about the fantastic stories that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnes. Okay, Tariq. Tariq is coming up. So, prisoners defending themselves with amazing curriculums and trainings. So next up, Tariq Nishnash, who is amazing. He's from Morocco, and he's as Arab Spring came, he had very creative and brilliant ideas that he's been implementing about how we might think about legislation and democracy in a new way. And so I love his thinking because it's on the shoulders of all of the giants before, but in a slightly new method.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, back in 2005, Kofi Annan has said that the right to choose how they are ruled and who rules them is a birthright to all people. And its universal achievement is a must goal for the United Nations. So now, when we look at the impact of technology on the political change, on human rights, on the rule of law, we feel confident about the future of building an inclusive participatory model for lawmaking. Back in 2011, there were street protests in more than 80 countries. And that's not only in the Arab world, but also in places like Spain or the US. The fact is, the society is changing so quickly, yet the governments are not keeping up. I remember in 2011, I worked with hundreds of thousands of protesters claiming the change of the constitution. And I had one concern. How can we make sure that the new constitution reflects the real voice of the people? So what we did back then is we built a platform, an online platform to engage citizens to discuss and analyze the constitution, and basically every citizens could read, comment, and vote in every article. What we got there, within 2 months, 200,000 Moroccans participated in the platform, committed 10,000 comments, and basically, just to get perspectives to numbers, 200,000 is bigger than the community of membership of a political party in Morocco. And to evaluate the impacts, 40% of the recommendation of the platform exists today on the new constitution. Built in on that, earlier this year, we decided to build a solution, a generic solution, to make it very easy, very simple to discuss any law in any country. That solution is called Legislation Lab. Legislation Lab is a platform for citizen participation for the legislative process. It enables in few clicks to generate a website to discuss any law in any country, basically based on any sets of languages. Within 6 months of its launch, we are already supporting 9 languages, and we're getting solicited by 16 countries. Basically, for example, like in Chile, a local NGO is using the platform to discuss the constitution, the 1980 Pinochet constitution. Another example is in Iraq, where we are dealing with the marginalized groups, where basically we are dealing with the minority rights and what the minority rights, the minority groups are defining as minority rights. I mean, to be humble, we are dealing with a lot of challenges, but we are confident that there are solutions if we persevere to have a solution that is engaging, that is inclusive, and that is more impactful. Basically, what I'm presenting here today is a technology that enables participation in legislation. Ladies and gentlemen, what you really need today is a space for collaboration between technologists and policymakers to mainstream this solution for governments and for UN agencies. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to the other stage.
All
so
right.
Let's kind of turn our attention over there.
If you can hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So, we're going to hear now from African Design Centers. That's Christian Benimana. He is an architect with mass design, and he wants to revolutionize the continent, the African continent that is, with African design centers. His dream is to create the first generation of human-centered African designs. In my mind, it's a leap back to the African designs, the prehistoric African designs of the Swahili culture, the Zimbabwe culture, the Burkina Faso, and Ouagadougou cultures where great cities were built. That's what he wants to do, create African cities for African people. So over to you, Christiana.
Thank you. The slides are not good. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm an African architect educated in China. Why China? Because my country didn't have a school of architecture until 2008. Plus, how many other African architects do you know? That's right. Italy alone, it's not clicking. Italy alone is estimated to have 4 times the number of architects the entire continent of Africa has. So to become one of the architects, I had to study abroad on a scholarship. The amount of transformation I saw in China was incredible, but I also saw serious problems. Like some of, I'm sorry, I'm having troubles with the clicker. It's not going fast enough. Yeah, we've experienced some massive displacement of population and some pollution as well in China. My country, Rwanda, is going through a building boom too. Cities are changing, and they're changing fast to accommodate this new development. The problem is there is little local knowledge to avoid the challenges I saw with China's fast development. Fortunately, in my work at Mass Design Group, we have a philosophy. We believe architecture must have a transcendent idea that instills dignity. I had joined Mass Design Group to design a hospital, Butaro Hospital in rural Rwanda. This hospital was designed to have maximum impact. It was designed to employ over 4,000 local people to build it, and build it using all local materials. But it was also designed from a patient's perspective. Instead of, my slides are not going, I'm sorry. Instead of patients looking at a room full of other sick people, they have a view to the outside, they have a window and a view to the outside landscape. This hospital makes people healthier, it's good for the environment, and brings dignity to this community. I'm sure this impact-based human-centered design approach is the only way we're going to save African built environment. Because think about it, Africa's urban population is going to reach 1.2 billion by 2050. We have to create the first generations of human-centered African designers to build Africa of the future. Why? Because my country is the fastest, most densely populated in Africa. It needs the first generation to help design and build, intelligently. They estimated almost 100,000 housing units we need per year for the next 5 years to house our urban population by 2020. So this generation will harness the talent and spirit that is uniquely African and build and provide adequate solutions. Because if we don't, we're going to see worsened environmental degradation, we're going to see worsened economic inequalities, and we're going to see public health disasters far worse than the recent Ebola outbreak. To have a community a whole community of human-centered African designers, the African Design Centers are the solution. They're going to build this creative leadership by selecting the most promising graduates and offer them a real project fellowship intensively for 2 years. With the commitments and partnerships that allows for a 10-year plan, we can graduate 2,500 graduates, employ and train over 200,000 people, and create over 10 million value-added jobs. Time is now to make decisions to build cities and improved communities where economic, social, and environmental opportunities exist for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you, that was great. Thanks a lot. So there you are. Back to the future. The next person we're going to hear, oh, and by the way, that's sustainable goal number 9. Okay.
Giving a quiz.
Yes, yeah, we have to give the quizzes as we go along. All right, we have another new sustainable goal coming up. It's by it's from Baidu Recycle, and this one is going to be presented by Z Li. In 2013, China had 1.2 billion mobile phone users. All right, just China alone, billions more in the rest of the world. So imagine those 1.2 billion mobile phones discarded in a dystopia of a landfill somewhere, leaking chemicals into the soil and releasing greenhouse gases, even as we produce even more phones that we all just absolutely cherish. The question is, how are we going to deal with all that? And the solution is what we're going to hear. Zili, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Louise Xili. I'm from China. So let's start my presentation with a love story between me and electronic waste. So when I was a kid, there's this black and white TV in my house. Oh, I used to spend so much good time with it that it felt like it will stay there forever. Until one day, my father came home, brought a big box of new TV, a color TV. So I asked, what would happen to my old friend? My father simply said someone will take care of it. So one day, an old man came to our house and took it away. Oh. There, I said goodbye to my first TV ever. It has since become a mystery to me. Where did my old friend go? Until one day, I saw this picture on a newspaper. And this picture. And this is a e-waste village that is just a few kilometers away from Beijing, the capital city of China. So every year, 70% of global e-waste ended up in China. And China itself is the number 2 e-waste producer in the world. So everyone knows that if not properly disposed of, e-waste can be really dangerous to the environment, especially those informal e-waste sector, where they burn the e-waste to extract gold out of it. It could end up harming human body. So it's a really serious issue. So of course, it has become one of the top concerns of Chinese government. And there they set up the national plan of e-waste management, and they certified over 100 certified recycling companies, and they provide special funds. But I have one question. What about our consumers? What prevents normal household from recycling responsible? What prevents informal e-waste collectors from being certified? That's why we came up with this online solution, Baidu Recycle, a mobile application that helps you recycle your e-waste. How exactly does it work? Through this app, users take their cell phone, take a photo of the old refrigerator you want to get rid of, take a photo, upload it to the system, and then the system will start like a platform to dispatch orders, just like Uber. So certified recycling company will come to your home and pick it up. Recycling has never been so easy. So this is the 100 recycling companies certified in China. It's almost in every province here in China. And this is the e-waste informal sector that I was talking about. So through this app, we are not replacing human with machine work, but instead, we're creating jobs for these e-waste collectors to be formalized. So we launched the beta version last year, and in less than 1 year, we successfully recycled 11,000 items, more than 11,000. Most of them are big items like a refrigerator and computers and TV. So we don't want to stop here. We want to go beyond that. We want more people to use the app. So why did not more people use the app? After rounds of interviews and research, we found out that the core problem is user behavior. How do we convince 1.4 billion people to use the app? How do we come up with a better mechanism to incentivize people? How do we convince you to use the app? So that's why we created this e-waste alliance to include everyone in the field to contribute to this development issue. And we're talking about everyone, government, academia, CSO, private sector, everyone. So the e-waste problem is important to China as well as to the whole world. So please join us with your ideas and connections, and together we can make a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zili. Great stuff. All right, thank you. That, ladies and gentlemen, is goal number 12. Consumption and production. We've got to change our habits. So let's move on. A little segue, though, before I move on waste management, because I learned this along the way. The Germans love their cars. The biggest industry in Germany, for almost $400 billion now, is the car industry. The second largest industry in Germany is waste management. And it's growing faster than the car industry. So clearly the number one industry that's going to drive the great German economy is going to be waste. So Zili, you're in the right business. Amazon Fab Labs, ever heard of them? Yeah, that's Benito Juarez. Benito came from the Peruvian Amazon. His family moved when he was 16 to Lima, the capital city. And there he saw the juxtaposition of, or at least realized the juxtaposition of the freedom of the Amazon against the suffering of the city. And that led Benito to explore the idea of inclusive innovation. And he is the founder of the first Fab Lab, a digital fabrication laboratory in Lima, and had a hand in establishing Fab Labs in Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I grew up in the Peruvian jungle, the most biodiverse territory on the planet, where nature inspired me a special sensitivity and creativity. I still remember every time my father cut his finger, he would take the resin from a plant to regenerate the injury. The Amazon forests provide food, aid, and shelter, and people only produce that they consume. However, it's still one of the poorest areas of my country where basic education, health, and safety are precarious. But now we have a great opportunity with Fab Lab, the new industrial revolution, from digital communication and computation to digital fabrication as these machines. This initiative originated in the MIT Center for Bits and Atoms, thanks to Professor Gershenfeld here present, is allowing anyone to make anything anywhere. In 2009, I was elected by the Spanish government, and today I work to be part of the network, and today I work to connect digital fabrication with the potential of nature and culture of my region. This is my motivation to create the Floating Fab Lab Amazon, a unique project on the future manufacturing and forest conservation. This is more than a laboratory. It is a new perspective on climate change and social inclusion. The Amazon's green earth make an ideal place for sustainable solutions incubation for both local and global communities. Our goals are reducing pollution and providing health by developing a new generation of biomaterials for 3D printing and customized nutrition, space conservation through distributed network for monitoring environment, education, providing access to digital fabrication to solve native challenges locally in production, energy, water, communication, etc. Indigenous local knowledge and global best practices together can create methods of synergy as eco-construction, new materials, environment adaptation, and new green economy. For example, the walking tree moves 10 meters in 30 years, adapting to a shifting ground. We are making walking house to adapt homes to the rivers. We need your support to make this project real. We expect to start the construction of the first pilot next year to cover 5% of the Amazon River. For the initial structure and the lab equipment and its staff, we need $2 million of support. Then we invite you to help scale the project to 20 fab labs distributed along the river to cover the 100% of the Amazon River for both local conservation and global sustainability. And finally, I would like to invite everybody here to join us, to the jungle and to join the Floating Fab Lab. Thank you very much.
Wow. Phenomenal, phenomenal. That's just phenomenal. Back to you, Megan.
Okay, thanks, Kamal. I was lucky to be in school with Neil, who's here, and he teaches a class how to make almost anything. And it's amazing when you start to learn how to make all the things that we have in our homes and our pockets. And this idea from the Fab Lab community, of which there's hundreds of Fab Labs around the world. If you've never been to one, I encourage you, find the Fab Network, a community of makers all over the planet, and visit one of the Fab Labs, make one of your own. Make sure there's one in the school where your children are and where your neighbors' children are. The next one is related in some way because we just saw pictures of deep devastation of the forests. So next up is biocarbon engineering. So Susan Graham from the UK is going to join us. They have my favorite use of flying things. Come.
Every year, over 15 billion trees are destroyed. And despite heroic international planting efforts, a net loss of over 6 billion trees remains. And this is not just a loss of trees. This is a loss of biodiversity, of resources, of carbon storage and jobs. And so last year, at the UN Climate Summit, a commitment was made to restore 350 million hectares, which is around the size of India and equates to about 300 billion trees. But the problem is, we're not going to achieve this goal with our current planting techniques alone. They need help. So we asked ourselves the question, how can we increase the planting rate while simultaneously decreasing the cost? From a tech perspective, we noted some really powerful emerging technologies, things like unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs, remote sensing, robotics, and machine learning. And we combine these together into our solution to plant trees using drones. It works in 2 phases. First, we fly over the land and take detailed images that tell us about nutrients, biodiversity, and topology. We then churn that data through a machine learning algorithm to generate a precision planting pattern. Second, we upload that planting pattern into our quadcopter planting UAV, which flies at 2 to 3 meters above the ground and fires a biodegradable seed pod at 80 meters per second at each predetermined position. The seed pod penetrates the soil, is activated by moisture, and contains all the nutrients for healthy tree growth. With 150 two-person teams, we could plant 1 billion trees a year. And this has the potential, this has the potential to scale to tens of billions of trees. So this is at 10 times the rate and just 15% the cost of hand planting. We're currently developing this technology in the lab, and we're moving into field trials in the coming months. So who needs trees? Well, the market can be broadly divided into 2 groups. You've got the extractive industries who have a profit motive and a regulatory requirement to replant their trees. And then you've got the much larger ecosystem restoration market. But in each of these cases, it's critical that we partner with local ecologists. The key is to put this technology into the hands of people who are already planting trees so that they can ensure positive environmental impact, as well as massive social uplift through job creation. And so today, we ask for 2 things. First, we need information. We need detailed information on specific places to plant, the species required, the land ownership, and current land usage. This type of information is empowering for innovators like us. Second, we need financing. Innovative projects need backing to develop the technology, and they need commitments to do large-scale field trials so we can test our technology with local species in local soils in all of the countries that are represented here tonight. My name is Susan Graham. My CEO, Lauren Fletcher, and with Biocarbon Engineering, we invite you all to join us as we change the world, 1 billion trees at a time.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. I like that use of flying things. Next up is an amazing colleague from Burkina Faso, Her Royal Highness Abzida Digma. She's a mechanical engineer. I like that. And she's going to tell us about Abze Solar. And it's really focused on women and girls in a really creative way. And so I will trade off a little bit with you. So look at the light. Beautiful innovation around solar and lighting.
Thank you. This is my Mama Light solar lamp. Thank you for inviting me and recognizing our work. Many thanks. This is a robust solar lamp designed to adapt to our climate. And with it's a dust-proof, drop resistance, and also with our sun, you can charge it for 8 hours, and you have 5 hours light in the evening. As you know, on the sunset in Africa, it's totally dark. If you just close your eyes, you will see that it's completely dark. That's how it is. 90% of the people don't miss light. The Mama Light Initiative for Sustainable Energy really, it's meant to empower the people. We're distributing more than 10 million solar lamps to help the people. With the Mama Light lamp, they can really study, work. The impact is huge. It's also make life more easier for women and kids. And more important, it's healthier. As you know that 4.3 million people dying every year for indoor pollution. This is really a pity. What the Mama Light Initiative for Sustainable Energy is unique. It's a bottom-up approach, community-based, owned by women, managed by women. We're training them to install, maintain, and I'm insisting on the maintenance because vocational training is really key. When you're technical, you know that you really need to go in that. And then comes, I'm really welcome the partnership that we have with UNDP. We commit within the Sendai framework to train, and we are training 5,000 youth and women in every country in the Sub-Sahara, combined with the multifunctional platform of in several countries. It's a ticket out of poverty, I can tell you. The impact is huge. Immediately you have 200,000 people who benefit. And you can imagine in Africa we are sharing those 200,000 people, you can multiply that by 10 easily. What we need, of course, is access to finance. We need to adapt also the tools. We need to be more flexible, listen to the bottom, working together with the local authorities, that's what I'm doing, the traditional authorities, to deliver the goods that they need, adapt it to our climate. It's very important. This is really key. And what I'm doing is to strengthen the supply chain for you. We like to partner. I'm not looking for charity. I want to be partner. We are part of the value chain. So time is limited. I would like really to share more with my experience and move our production lines to Africa. This is very important because the transportation cost is really huge. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. And I love having an engineer princess. There's some folks in Hollywood, I might mention that too. Okay, so Kamau, over to you.
All right. Right, the next two examples are from India. One is about water. The other one is about sanitation. So the first one is freshwater recharge. Lalit Sharma. Lalit? Where's Lalit? There you are. Lalit Sharma is a civil engineer from India, and he has found a simple and effective way to create freshwater pockets for portable use within saline aquifers. He is here today to take us through his innovation in freshwater conservation. Lalit, we're over to you. It's right there.
Thank you. Groundwater is a very important resource. Unfortunately, it's depleting, and because of salinity, it's getting unfit for any use. On this earth, 24 million square kilometer is having saline groundwater. Because of that, 1.1 billion people are suffering. They are struggling with the salinity. 44% of the world's population live in coastal areas, highly vulnerable to seawater intrusion. Next, please. This salinity is not a localized problem. It's not a regional problem. It's spreading all over the globe, and it's increasing. Unfortunately, in these saline areas, poor population cannot afford the presently available cost-intensive and energy-intensive solutions. The solution may be rainwater harvesting, because it's an ultimate and renewable source. It is a potential game changer. The issue with the conventional rainwater harvesting system is when you recharge the rainwater into the saline aquifer, ultimately it spreads over a large area, and it forms a thin layer of fresh water over the saline water. It is very difficult to extract this thin layer without getting it mixed with the saline water. So there was a need of innovating something that it does not spread, rather it forms a pool of fresh water. And my innovation does just that. It forms a pool of fresh water within the saline aquifer, so it does not need any cost-intensive storage tank. It does not need any space over the ground, very little space, and big storage within the aquifer itself. Next, please. Looking at the need of poor population in the saline areas, we have decided to keep this innovation into public domain royalty-free. You all are welcome to take this innovation to the people in need. This is very low-cost intervention, just a recharge well. It does not have any recurring cost. It is scalable from household to community. It can be adapted in both coastal areas as well as inland areas. We have already implemented this, and it is successfully working in institutional, household, and agriculture settings. So friends, I request you all, please, being a small NGO, we have limitations. But if we can come together, we can take these sustainable solutions to the people in need and make their life easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lalit. The thing with engineers is that they think everybody's as smart as they are. I would love to know how that solution works. I have a place I could use it. The next example, as I said, is also from India, and this one's built around sanitation, and we are talking about a company called Banka Bioluz. Namita Banka, a former jeweler and a budding social interpreter, decided in 2008 to take on the challenge of sanitation in India. That's no small feat, I suspect. After a short stint with a toilet company, to better understand the industry, she came up with the idea that will help revolutionize sanitation in her country. Today, her and her husband and business partner will present on our behalf. Is the husband here? All right. Please.
So Namita is on her way to France next month, and her passport is with the France consulate, and I'm here. I have a 2024 visa. Thank you.
Visas.
So the statistics are scary as far as sanitation is concerned. Still not? Yeah. I would not like to talk about the billion numbers in terms of access to sanitation or open defecation. India represents almost 60% of the, India represents nearly 60% of the population of open defecation in the world, and it's a scary scenario. Added to that, the recent MDG assessment by WHO and UNICEF that has put burden of sanitation more. So 91% of the global population has access to clean water, whereas it's only 68% which has access to sanitation. So the added burden is all the more on sanitation. So that's the solution of not having lack of access to sanitation. The BioLoo, which comprises a toilet cabin, a multi-chambered metrized biotank which holds the bacteria, and it treats human waste at source. It's an unsewered, non-networked, decentralized treatment facility. Right? And here are the details. So you have a modular structure, a knockdown unit kind of. We take it and assemble at the site. Everything happens within a day. And Namita has designed it, so it's a patent pending technology. The biotank or the bacterial culture, it has been patented by the Indian Defense. It had primarily come up for the soldiers across the borders where the treatment facility was not there. So they had invented it for the Indian soldiers, and we are proud to associate with it to take it to the civilian population. It's an anaerobic digestion process, completely sealed tank, and the bacteria that treats the human waste, and we'll see the process. So as the human waste, the fecal matter passes through the different chambers, it treats the human waste. So quickly, huge impact, varying settlements, schools, households, military, refugees. In schools, we partner a lot with the companies under their CSR programs and provide sanitation systems. In the trains, that's one of the good solutions. Not many of you may know, but the Indian trains have open chute system wherein the fecal matter drops on the tracks. And this is a unique scenario wherein the non-user benefits a lot. So there are a lot of low-income families that stay close to the tracks, and they benefit a lot by the system compared to the passenger himself or herself. The technology has great utility and vitality across the world, and we are keen to take it abroad. It's a very simple solution using a bacterial culture that would treat the human waste at source. So we have done some mathematics, and to install around 1 million BioLoos across 5 years, $20 million is the investment. Right, thank you. This is the school.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Megan.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up, where is Bart Wiegents? Here. So Bart is from Belgium, and he's knowledgeable about rats, and he has a very creative ideas already in scale around using animals as partners in several humanitarian areas. So welcome.
Just 10 days ago, Mozambique declared itself landmine-free. But would you believe that this gorgeous animal, the giant African pouched rat, has played a critical role in that achievement? Well, you better do, because it's true. I'm Bart Wiegents, and I'm the founder of Apopo, a global organization operating from Tanzania that trains rats to save human lives by detecting landmines and tuberculosis. Here you see a hero rat at work in Mozambique. The animals are very much trained by positive behavior reinforcement, just like dogs are, to indicate the smell of explosives. And then they indicate by scratching on the soil. But the animals are much faster. They're up to 50 times faster than their human counterparts. And they speed up the process considerably and make it a lot more cheap. They literally work for peanuts. Actually, using detection rats technology in combination with heavy machines like caterpillars and manual deminers with metal detectors can speed up the process considerably. And we actually are this land release approach has boosted the output of mine action, where the expected duration of clearing Mozambique would take 100 years. Thanks to the hero rats, we did it in 23 years. And where we are now is we already replicated this approach in Angola and in Cambodia. And now we are looking at Zimbabwe and Colombia, because we believe that these countries have a similar landmine situation where the rats can be very instrumental in giving the overall mine action program an enormous boost in efficiency. To do that, we need to work at maximum capacity, we need about $2 million per year per operational program. For the 4 operational programs we have running now, around $8 million yearly, yearly cost. We also train rats to detect tuberculosis. And here you see a tuberculosis detection rat at work in a central lab facility in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where we cover the entire city, collecting samples from all the clinics and run them through a rat screen. And why is this important? Because the routine technique to screen for tuberculosis is microscopy, and it fails by 50%. But not this buddy. He has here found a sample that he indicates by putting his nose for 3 seconds in the sniffer hole, and then he gets a click sound and a food reinforcer. Utilizing this algorithm of fast screening all samples in a megacity, running them through such a rat unit, and the algorithm utilizing the high specificity of a microscope and the high sensitivity of a rat, we have consistently increased case detection rates in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and in Maputo, where we already replicated, by over 45% since 2007. So far, we screened 140,000 patients and found an additional 8,500 people who were initially missed by microscopes. Our 10-year goal is to bring this model, which is really a cost-efficient health intervention, a preventative health intervention, we want to bring it to 15 megacities in the high burden, there's 22 high burden countries, and we want to bring it in 15 of these megacities in high burden countries. To do this, our goal is to screen 5 million people and have our intervention lead to the prevention of 1.5 million infections. To do this, we need an overall $25 million or 2.5 million per year. To conclude, we think that we're only scratched the surface of the potential of detection rats technology. We also want to soon start training rats to detect non-communicable diseases like cancers. And also for the detection of improvised explosive devices, the animals might have a use complementary to dogs. And well, there's a lot to say more about, but my time is over, and you can always find us later to talk more rats.
Thank you. Thank you, Bart. Next up is a project called the Born Project, which is co-founded by Anna Maria Saarinen, who's coming up. And 8 babies die every minute. And a lot of times it's due to lack of any kind of intervention in those first few hours. And so we welcome Anna Maria to the stage to talk a little bit about that. She's got an amazing thing she's going to show you on her phone in a minute, but we'll do that in a sec. Okay, welcome.
Wait, I got one. Yeah, I got one less hand than I need. Okay, go. Just push that one aside. Thank you so much. Wow, what a special honor to be here, and congratulations to the other presenters tonight. You're doing a great job. Didn't make me any less nervous, but you're doing a great job. So we have the project that we started in Minnesota called the Born Project, which has its roots in the Midwest with a little baby who was diagnosed with critical congenital heart disease at 2 days old. She was entirely asymptomatic, but she was in profound heart failure, being sent away from the hospital. And that was my daughter, Eve, my third child. So we thought everything looked great, but she indeed was not doing very well. Wow, this clicker is super sensitive. You're right. The other one doesn't work, and this one moves ahead. So because of her situation, we were able to start exploring how a little red beam of light could actually reduce the chance that a child could leave the newborn nursery undetected with a very serious heart problem or other health condition. And that red beam of light is actually pulse oximetry. It's been around a pretty long time, actually, about 25 years, so commonly used that most doctors refer to it as the fifth vital sign. But it wasn't being used on newborns for whatever the reason. And we had a lot of babies, actually 1 in 3 in the newborn nursery, that were leaving hospitals right here in the US undiagnosed. So once we got our pilot up and running, we were able to approach the federal government here in the US to look at how this screening tool can be used as an early diagnostic. And within about 18 months, we were able to have the US Department of Health and Human Services make a recommendation that all newborns in the United States should be screened for congenital heart disease using pulse oximetry. So this is a test that has so far saved an estimated 3,200 newborn lives in the United States for about the cost of a diaper change in the newborn nursery. So the technology, while widely accessible in NICUs and in well-resourced areas, wasn't available in a platform that was sort of affordable and accessible. And we were able to team up with industry to co-launch and co-develop the world's first mobile phone pulse oximeter. That reduced the cost of pulse oximetry screening considerably. It was a 10x solution, basically brought down the cost by tenfold, and increased access by, they're just sort of jumping ahead on their own, and increased access by 10 squared, so about 100-fold. Getting it into the field has been just a really an incredible opportunity for us. This is from last week in Sichuan province, where we are already in implementation. We have a screening program there that is screening about 78,000 babies across 50 different delivery sites. This is a very resource-poor area, but thus far we've had remarkable implementation success with this device in partnership with the government at the municipal and provincial and national level, and with clinicians countrywide who have really shown a keen interest in how this can actually help detect secondary conditions such as pneumonia and sepsis, which are the number 2 killers of newborns around the world, claiming about 1 million lives annually. So that became our sort of target condition as we look into low resource settings, and we've been really excited to see the results coming through. So data collection and data communication have been a critical part of this project. That's the beauty of a mobile health platform. And I don't know if they've been able to see like what's showing up on there. I'm sure oh, look at my heart rate. That's pretty much what a newborn is like. Because, yeah. So doctors, don't be alarmed.
I think we're going to zoom in off the camera.
Yeah, so it's actually really great. It's got the same sensitivity and specificity as a hospital-grade pulse oximeter. But what it's calculating there is that my blood is really well oxygenated, so it's at 100%, exactly where we want it to be. My heart rate is ridiculously high. And then the perfusion index, yeah, exactly. Like the alarm would be going off if I had the sound on it right now. But then if you just click on the middle button, what it does is monitor over any given time. We can send just the screening result or the like a 1 hour, 6 hours monitoring on a baby who might seem ill. And then on this last one, if the frontline health worker in the low resource setting, yep, that one, and then if you hit the email button, it just takes that data that you just saw, puts it into a little CSV file. You don't even need Wi-Fi. This is just a cell signal. You hit that button, it sends it wherever it needs to go to the next nearest primary care physician or someone who can say, okay, here's what I'm seeing with this baby, definitely hypoxemic, you want to refer and transfer. So there's where the sort of infrastructure investments need to happen. Okay, so I have to go back to this slide. So this is what we're sort of looking for. A $2 million investment actually is going to, at this point, scale screening to about 10% of all newborns, so 13 million babies born each year. And then we also need to leverage both existing and new partnerships, both governmental and private sector, for impact and greater ROI. I mean, this could be, we're ecosystem driven. This is about what the treatment infrastructure looks like, how we can get these kids to proper care, using Susan's drones to deliver amoxicillin to babies who have sepsis or pneumonia. Right on, to raise your hand. That's like such a great opportunity to do so much more with this. And then empathy, understanding that every death is preventable. These are all the places where pilots are happening, and that is the opportunity we have to save 1,200 lives a day for the rest of the Sustainable Development Goals. And lastly, my daughter, if she were born anywhere in 95% of the rest of the world, she would be dead today. So I really, really thank you for letting me share her story and our work, and I hope to talk to you more after.
Incredible. So we're going to go over to Kamau, but I will say that we have 3 more amazing solution makers to hear from. And I want you all to know, for those of you who are new to events like this, we do them all the time. And I want you to join them more and more. Find the tech meetup. Look it up in your neighborhood. Look up the Startup Weekend. A Startup Weekend is an event that happens all over the world. The groups who want to do it gather on a Friday night, and a bunch of people pitch different companies and ideas they'd like to make. And then different people join teams, and they kind of hack them all weekend, and on Sunday night they present them. And that happens in hundreds of cities around the planet, like Fab Lab and that. So there's this group of invisible people to some other people, and we want them to reveal themselves. And so this kind of a hackathon or celebration or solution summit, we hope that will become a regular practice. So Kamau, over to you for our next up.
Thank you. What's amazing is that when I used to work for UNICEF, I used to be a fundraiser. And Anna Marie, with that idea of yours, I could raise you your 2 million in like 10 minutes. It's an amazing idea, it really is. The next idea is called Planet Oz, or OS. This is a roboticist and product developer by training. Raina Steinfeld is an Estonian entrepreneur based in the Silicon Valley, focused on data-driven businesses that grow enterprise value and designing human interaction with data. So, Raina, there you are. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. In 1998, former United States Vice President Al Gore introduced a concept called the digital Earth, a virtual planet that is geo-referenced, connected to the world's digital knowledge. In the past 15 years, we witnessed a quiet revolution in the deployment of sensor networks acquiring data from the atmosphere, oceans, and land. However, this data is often public and it's hard to find, access, and use. In 2012, I founded marineexplore.org. Starting with a small group of Estonians, we developed a search engine for public ocean data and a community for ocean professionals. We got data from 35 organizations and 40,000 devices around the world, and 8,000 excited community members asking for more. We learned that unless we go beyond the oceans, our unique approach would not be able to make a difference in the world. That's how PlanOS was born. PlanOS is a new revolutionary search engine designed for the next generation of digital Earth, delivering access to public data without moving it. Combined with PlanOS Toolkit, domain experts can work with software developers to create bespoke applications to solve some of their most pressing problems. So you may ask, how much data is out there? Nobody really knows for sure, but we know that our new system has indexed more data in the last 3 months than we did in the last 3 years. We hope that in not so distant future, we will be able to bring you that to your fingertips. So what would you do with better Earth data? Imagine all Earth data being interconnected, available to the creativity of the brightest minds of our time, from domain experts to software developers to the children that are just starting to explore the world. And PlanOS can provide solutions in affordable and clean energy, in combating climate change, in protecting marine ecosystems. For example, PlanOS has been used to develop many solutions, including a real-time data dashboard to increase the power output of an offshore wind farm by combining turbine data with local weather data in one system. Or, for example, replacing spreadsheets with real-time environmental monitoring for the offshore and maritime industry. Or, for example, using sound field analysis to reduce man-made noise in the oceans. Al Gore said that we need a digital Earth. I think what we really need is a planetary nervous system. Come and help us and join us to build a resilient, interconnected network that helps us to truly understand what the planet feels, and let's make decisions about the future and sustainable future today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We put the pulse on the world, right? That's right. The next idea is called Save the Cassava. Laura Boykin, a computational biologist in Australia, seeks to empower African scientists with the knowledge of genomics and high-performance computing skills to not only tackle the whitefly cassava disease, but also to curb future insect outbreaks. Over to you, Laura.
Okay. Right. I'm praying to the clicker gods right now. All right. So whiteflies, with the Latin name Bemisia tabaci, are the world's most devastating insect pests. They have a global distribution. They all look alike. They transmit viruses, ultimately causing billions of dollars in damage each year. These whiteflies feed on the leaves of over 600 plants. It's during this feeding that the viruses are transmitted from the whitefly to the plant. And of the 600 plants that these whiteflies feed on, arguably the most important is cassava. Cassava leaves and roots are eaten by millions of people. Back. You listen to me. So, cassava leaves and roots are eaten by millions of people in South America, Southeast Asia, and many countries in Africa. In fact, 800 million people depend on cassava for their daily calories. You see, cassava is a poverty fighter. If a small-scale family farmer has healthy cassava, they can feed their families, and they have enough to sell at the market to generate income for important things like school fees, medical expenses, and savings. But cassava is under attack by whiteflies. Whiteflies are transmitting two devastating viruses, cassava mosaic and cassava brown streak diseases, and they ultimately kill the plant. So if there's no cassava, there's no food or income for millions of people. So our global team is dedicated to increasing the cassava production for the strongest women on the planet, the smallholder farmers in East Africa. 80% of the farms in East Africa are owned by women, and they're the sole focus of our research. And my goal on the team, or my role on the team, yeah, come on, is to use genomics, phylogenetics, and supercomputing to study the speciation of whiteflies. So we take individual whiteflies and we isolate their genetic information, and then we put this information into a supercomputer and we generate a phylogenetic tree. And phylogenetic trees can be interpreted much like family trees. Interconnected lines indicate more closely related individuals. So this diagram shows that there are 34 species of whiteflies globally, and not one as previously thought. Identifying more species of whiteflies means that we need to protect cassava from more than one enemy. And this speciation information is given to breeders and other scientists and is used to give farmers resistant varieties to the correct species that they're encountering. Now, but generating these phylogenetic trees is computationally really intensive. So for example, for 19 samples, this many phylogenetic trees is the result. We have thousands of samples, so you can clearly see the need for supercomputing. So currently, collaborators from East Africa are coming to my lab, and this is slowing down our progress, right? They're having to travel to Australia, bring the flies, bring the data. And so one of the things that is definitely needed is we need computational biology capacity in East Africa. And a good place to start is here in Professor Lebobi Livingstone's Applied Mathematics group. These young mathematicians need opportunities. And we also need DNA mobile sequencing technologies and computers so that we can test for these whiteflies and these viruses in the field to prevent the spread of the viruses and the whiteflies. And we have regional facilities to do molecular diagnostics in these countries. So now it's time to add computational biology to the equation and mobile DNA sequencing technology so that we can not only prevent whiteflies and viruses, but also equip East Africa with the technology and the knowledge they need to fight future outbreaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. That's amazing. We're gonna solve the clicker point issue very soon. Don't worry. We just need a supercomputer. Okay. The next presenter. Am I doing the next presenter, Megan?
We're going to do it together because this is our last presenter and we wanted to share an amazing story.
All right.
Sometimes it's very difficult to get around our planet for both reasons of travel, but also reasons of visas. And I just wanted to highlight that our next presenter, who's amazing, stood outside of the embassy for 5 hours in the rain in Nigeria, did not succeed to get his passport from the embassy, stayed overnight, went back, we found a guard, we got back in, we found the passport. Then when he got to the airport, they refused him admissions to the plane because he wasn't allowed to transit in Europe for some period of time for some crazy reason that we need to debug in the policy arena. And he then eventually, with one friend here, where's Susan and Puneet, on the phones with him, encouraging him to stay, Susan here, non-government liaison service, the two of them got United Airlines to get him on the plane and got him to stay. And so it's our honor that you will join us at the Solution Summit as one of the greatest innovators for farming. And so back to you, Ambassador Kamau, to introduce him.
There you are. It's tough. It's tough being an African and trying to move around the world. Hey, I know what you mean, brother. All right. Cold hubs, right? Cold hubs. Nyameka, this name's gonna kill me. It's, you're gonna have to say this name when you come in, Nyameka. All right, the last name. All right, so I'm just gonna say he's Nigerian. That is a farmer, a social entrepreneur, a radio presenter. He grew up frustrated, not just with the embassy, but with mounting losses of smallholder farmers, right? And through his research, he discovered local farmers were losing about 45% of their crop due to excruciating heat in markets that just couldn't store the stuff, right? And from those frustrations, he developed cold hubs concept. So, over to you, Nyameka.
Thank you very much. So my name is Nyameka Chidebere Ikegwoni Ike. It's a very long name. And my last name in my language means somebody that talks too much. But I will not talk too much, actually. I was told to point this way. I'm a farmer, a radio presenter, and a social entrepreneur. But today, I'm not going to talk about those things because I will like to tell you a story. And the title of my story is that for the tomato, the clock is ticking. You see, in this picture here, I have Chibueze. Chibueze is a very young farmer, hardworking. Every day, Chibueze harvests about 8 baskets of tomato. But the moment Chibueze plucks that tomato from that tree, the clock begins to tick that tomato. What happens is that on my radio station, the smallholder farmers rural radio station I established 12 years ago, reaching more than 2 million listeners, we broadcast that day's commodity price. And Chibueze decides which market to go. But for him to go to that market, he has to call Eugene. The clicker really is not working. Then Eugene comes, and Eugene brings this van. Then Eugene starts to sleep. We think Eugene sleeps too much. But as Eugene is sleeping, because it takes time to gather the tomatoes. But as they are gathering it, remember the clock continues to tick for the tomato. Then Eugene makes this long trip of 8 hours arriving at the central market, where he hands over the tomato to Alex. First of all, Alex has this beautiful umbrella to protect his head under 35 degrees Celsius sunshine. It's very hot there. And he leaves the tomato. Then the clock continues to tick for the tomato. You see, 4 hours into that market day, Alex is running around. He gathers fresh leaves to try and keep the tomato safe. But there is nothing. There is no cold storage in the market. The clock continues to tick for the tomato. Then, by the end of that market day, Alex is tired. He dumps the tomato, and the clock ends ticking for the tomato. You see? And as a radio presenter, I go back and ask people, farmers, how was market that day? And they tell me that they actually lose about 45% of their harvest due to lack of cold storage. The thing is, reports are out there that says about 200 million smallholder farmers are affected by this problem, and they lose 606 million tons of food. In our world of so much advancement in science and technology, there is no need for those numbers, really. Just last year, we built a solar-powered walk-in refrigerator. Just a cold room, so well designed that it can be placed in markets and farms. And it is 10 times less than what you can get conventionally. And it's a very simple idea. So what people do, they just bring their baskets of tomatoes, and we transfer them into these plastic crates, and we stack inside this cold room, extending the shelf life. Extending the shelf life from 2 days normally to 21 days. But it's a business for us. So we still collect a little bit of money from them, 50 US cents, to store per crate per night. A simple model. And we are here. Well, our goal is eliminate those losses completely, increase their income, and have more nutritious food available. You see. Right now we are in Nigeria. We have 10 cold hubs in Nigeria, 50 next year. We want to expand to Kenya and to other parts of Africa. So what I'm really saying is there's no need for continuous post-harvest losses in perishable food. Invite us to your country. Let us help you people. Wherever you invite us, we will go. Let us eliminate these losses completely. That's the end of my story. Thank you, please.
Thank you. It's an amazing story. Thank you very much. It's an amazing story. Being a farmer myself, I can relate.
Okay.
So
we are almost done with the summit, but we've completed our solution makers for representing the over 800 folks who had sent us. So thank you to everybody who presented and rehearsed and kept on time. So on your table, find this sign. Look around and see if you can find this sign. Okay, so everybody should have a sign, and it will say something about one of the solution makers. This is Susan Graham with the amazing flying biocarbon engineering from the UK. So this table is going to be brainstorming on behalf of her. for just 10 minutes. So you guys are going to take 10 minutes and have a conversation with each other about one thing. So this is how you think about it. You are suddenly on this person's team. Now what do? What kind of things might you be able to help them with? What kind of resources or ideas? Do you know somebody who has a technology that's similar? Do you know somebody who would love this idea? Do you have ideas for funding? Or do you have ideas for distribution? Ideas for markets? All the different things that would help an entrepreneur. Pretend you are their angel investor. Maybe you are working in the team. Maybe you're on the board. Maybe you're the family member of your entrepreneur. So put yourself into a role and think about how you might help them. And so we want you to spend at least 2/3 of the next 10 minutes just hearing from different people at the table of a few things and jot them down for us so that we can collect the notes. A few things you might do if you were on this team suddenly. How would you drive this entrepreneur forward? And also, all good ideas need critique. And so spend a little bit of time on the critique, but I ask you, don't spend most of your time. So we think 2/3 yes, and this is where you should go. This is wonderful. I will help you with this. I have these ideas for you. And then 1/3 yes, but. What's the critique? Is there an issue for privacy? Is there an issue for some quality issue, some distribution issue, some challenge for this entrepreneur that you can identify to support them? Because that's very helpful for them to be aware of too. So we'll start the timer. And so we'll just take, we have a special guest before we do that. Okay, so Kathy Calvin.
So we are so lucky to have the Secretary General's special advisor on the post-2015 agenda. We're done saying post-2015, by the way, on the new Sustainable Development Goal agenda. And without Amina Mohammed from Nigeria, this would never have happened. This was a unique leader at a unique time who was able to work with people like Ambassador Kamau and all of the other permanent representatives at the UN to find their way forward, to get the support from the Secretary General's office, and to produce information about data and all the other things it's going to take to make sure we get these goals into place and through implementation. Amina, we are so happy to have you here. You've missed some really fun stuff this afternoon. I'm going to let Megan give you 2 seconds of what's happened, and then we'd just love to have you inspire the crowd a little bit. And I know we're about to go have some drinks, but we've got also some brainstorming to do. But come on up, and Megan, over to you to give her a quick summary.
Yeah, so we have solution makers from all 6 continents. There are women and men here who are just astonishing with their ideas. We've seen ideas of flying drones to plant more than 1 billion trees a year. We've seen ideas around cold storage that would work in the marketplace that is quite awesome. We've seen ideas around biology and flies that could solve problems for cassava, and many, many more ideas. I'll stop there, but we'll brief you a little bit more. But I wanted to invite you up to just say a few words to everybody about the process. And the purpose of the Solution Summit, of course, is to begin right away. And that's why we're here all together supporting these incredible solution makers, and also reaching out through the internet, through live stream, to everybody who sent us solutions who we couldn't fit in the room, but also to those who will help these and have solutions at home themselves. So welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Megan, and thank you, Kathy, and hello, everyone. I'm so sorry to be late, but I couldn't miss the closing of this summit because we had gavelled the adoption, but just to see the closing was amazing. I am unusually stuck for words. I think 3.5 years of finding the words to try to make this real. But yeah, you're laughing. It's just been an amazing journey, and it is a historic moment. It's the first time that you have negotiators agreeing something before, like the night before, 2 months ahead. And I think it was that process that involved all of you. I've heard from so many colleagues in the last hour the things that you've been talking about. And it's so exciting because people are engaged before we've even left New York. And I think that's what makes this also possible. We've got initiatives that have been set and commitments that have been made to health. They've been made to countries calling themselves to action. I've never heard government stand up and say call to action. It's usually civil society. So this is moving. But all can't be done without finding the solutions to what we all know. The how we do this is going to be incredibly important. And I think that the wealth of what you shared today has also, I hope, engaged young people, because we keep saying the young people are the torchbearers. I hope it will be intergenerational, that we will have another partnership between those of us that have got lots of experience and those that are coming on, and that we don't need to wait for them to have the experience. We have to work with them, and that's our young people, and innovation is the best place to start that. But it requires foundations in many of our countries that don't have it. So everything that's happened here today is wonderful, but it needs to happen everywhere for everyone. And that's the challenge of the next 15 years, is to make that happen. I think the partnerships are there for this. We've all said that one of the first steps that we need to take towards really engaging with getting everyone into this has been the data revolution. And we don't want that to go away. That's incredibly important. The first thing we ever said was that we need our baselines, but we know that if we're strengthening institutions, that's boring, but needs to be done, not an attractive investment. We can make it attractive if we show the sort of innovations and the data technology and the big data that's around that excites people to do things because they can see them in real time. They can make real of what seems very far off. And I think that's what's special about all of this. Implementation's key, but it's key at the country level. And it's hard. In many countries, it's very hard. But I think the opportunities are there. And everyone's excited about it. We've just got to get up and walk the talk. And you started doing that this evening. So thank you very much, everyone. And let's go and do it.
Right attitude.
Thank you so much. Okay, so normally when we have these kinds of summits, we give ourselves 20 or 30 minutes for brainstorming, but we just want to get a sampling on behalf of folks here. So my goal for you at your tables is that you'll have maybe 3 yes ands or 4 yes ands that you want to share with the entrepreneur, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 yes buts. And I want every single person at the table to get a chance to say anything. So we'll start now. And I'll just let you know when we call time, somebody just scribe it down and save this so that we can give it to your innovator. Maybe you just bring it directly to them. And we will be hearing a couple more words, and then we'll go into the next room, straight down the hallway, where there's a much larger area with food and celebration. Each of our entrepreneurs will have a station where they will be there able to talk to you. And the wonderful sponsors also, who are incredibly innovative and working on the goals also, will be near them, so you can talk to them about some of their innovative work there, and all of us can be together, and some more people will join us. Okay, so we'll start the timer now. 2/3 yes and. How would you help these folks? What would you do? 1/3 yes but. Go. Thank you, everybody, for amazing energy and ideas that you've brought to people. I'm going to, I just want let's hear 2 ideas out of the room, just because we are pressed on time and we have lots of friends over in the other side of the building who want to join us. So anybody want to just shout out something awesome that they're going to do and which idea it is? Come on, there's something in the room. Yes. Awesome. Did you hear that? So we're going to have stickers that are biodegradable on all of the thing advertising, so that all of the e-waste is going to go into this service. Love it. One other one from the room. Ryan has a mic. Come on, share.
There's one way back there.
Way back there. Okay, way back in the room. He's running. And tell us which idea it was.
Right, it's Baidu e-waste to propose that you have an app on the Crystal of the smartphone. So the government incentives to actually, for the mobile handset, to actually provide the app in devices by default and recycling devices. So there's a motivation for the mobile companies to actually do this.
That's a great idea. So just like the 911 or 119 and those things, and the installed app, make it permanently installed when you buy the phone. Great idea. Any other last ones? Yeah, no? Okay, so write down on behalf of your entrepreneur, bring it to their table. We're about to go into the other room, and we'll join folks. There'll be food. The entrepreneurs will be there, and others. But before we go over there, we want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's put this together. So Puneet from my team. Where's Susan? Where's Susan? There she's coming. Okay. So
Susan Myers, representing the UN Foundation. Susan Alsner, representing UNGLS. And thank you to all of the amazing... Ambassador Kamau, co-moderator, co-chair.
So this is a new way of doing things. I'll let you know that last night I saw an email from Europe. We have a refugee crisis, of course, and I saw this tech Fuji. 700 people already signed up on the Facebook app for a hackathon on October 1st and 2nd to hack for different solutions, Airbnb, these kinds of companies, and techies are coming together to support. So I'm telling you, teammates from the global leadership world, we techies and the scientists, we all want to get together. We want to work very tightly together, not just at times of war, but in times of peace. And we want to get these goals done not in 15 years, but much faster. Thank you very much. So we're going to go. Yeah, okay, so everybody grab stuff. If you have papers for the entrepreneurs, bring them for them, and we're going to head straight down this hallway and join folks. Also, a wonderful server from the group said that the full moon is visible, and that in about an hour, there will be an eclipse. And it just will give us some perspective about being on a planet together. Thank you.